Hello, I'm Chris,
I'm Ash.
and we're wondering about what the fuck is going on.
In UX in general, but mostly for today's session in in UX. So this can be pronounced as what the
Mm-hmm.
F UX or just what the fuck
Mm-hmm.
plural.
Yeah, the show has been explicitly tagged as explicit language. So if you're sensitive, then you probably need to put on some I don't
Goodbye
know, maybe light a
goggles.
candle. You could do that too, or
Just
you
go.
know, piece
Just
the
go.
f out because you know.
Oh, now
There's a
we're
lot that's wrong.
censoring. Now we're
Are we?
censoring. Well, no, you just did.
I'm.
Piece the F
You're
out.
right. It's true. It's true. I'm too nice,
Mm,
but I like Ashley's literally drinking tea, which is perfect for podcasting. So, but then again, we've got video, and this is like our inaugural pilot session. So, if you get to see this, you get to see us spilling some tea.
but this is coffee. But still,
Oh well, coffee, tea. Whatever works for you or you, the
all of
listener,
them
our dear listeners, all of them.
is
So, what are we gonna? Oh,
welcome.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Welcome. What's up?
Yes.
That's
Welcome to
it.
you and welcome to everybody else. Like it's going to be good times because we see a lot of things, we hear a lot of things in our day-to-day as professional UXers. I mean, I've been in the game as a designer for 20 some odd years and Ashley, you can I don't need to introduce you. You can do that yourself.
Well, so I've been in research for 20 some odd years, but I've been in the UX game
Bam.
for about for about 6, 7, 8, I don't ish. But it's one of
Mhm.
those where I've taught it, I've lived it, I've done it. Yeah, you name the place, and I've had the go, and so I've noticed a lot of stuff that seems to transcend where you're doing the work, and I think lend me to the title, like what the fuck, because what the FUX, like it's
Mhm.
just kind of this moment, and I don't know if it's been a moment for a while and I'm just catching up, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, holy shit, we need to talk
Mhm.
about that, does that make sense?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, 100%. It's and to your point of whether you're new to it or if it's kind of always been there. I feel like it's a bit of I feel like it's the same challenge that's been sort of repackaged. So there are weird practices, weird mental models that are kind of if we're talking about like the negative, and we're not
Mm-hmm.
always going to be negative, I don't think, but if we're talking about like the dark patterns and the negative, there are things that we see that don't make sense because we've grown, like the field of design and research, like UX design and UX research have grown old enough and matured enough so that these faux pas and these 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 lack of inclusivity, for example, they've been phased out. We've solved for those. So yeah, and you don't have to be a fang or mang, because like that's like I can't resist like the acronym almost becoming mango. I can't remember, who is it, Oracle or is it, I don't know, but at one point I heard mango, so I'm hoping, I'm holding
Love
on to.
mangoes.
It's the only reason. Yeah, it's the only reason why I will
Mm.
ever refer to Meta as Meta, because of mango. That said,
Ha.
you don't have to be part of you don't have to be part of a top tier mango company in order for UX research and design to be not only part of the process but part of the culture. UX design and UX research is not solely the responsibility of people like Ashley and people like myself. It is an organization mindset. You may not practice it, but you need to have it on your radar somewhat and be open to partnering and collaborating with with folks like us. Not because design and research need a seat at the table, but it's one or two of the strongest levers that you can pull to make sure that what you're offering is meaningful in service to people. And so I don't know. So like
Like,
whether you're a mom and pop org or agency, you can still make ripples. Like you can still make waves. You can still make ripples in the pond or ocean.
and you can still make a dollar, and you can still make people happy. And guess what? If you want to make a
Yeah.
dollar, you better make people happy, because they will find
Hmm.
somewhere else to be. You are not the singular product in the space ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, you know, ensuring that there's so much talk about like KPIs and like all these budget bound needs and all these huge pushes. So you
Mm.
can do really easy asking up front, because it might seem like a great idea, but it might not mean anything to people in the real world. It may if you adjust it to suit their language, their dynamics, their expectations, whatever. But just because you think
Mm-hmm.
it's good doesn't mean that it's sellable or wanted. And I often give the example when I'm giving this feedback to people I consult to is that more often than not, I've had a few instances as a professor where I've received just an exquisite paper. I mean, this paper was dope. Loved it. Beautiful, gorgeous. Like, da, 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 da. But
Mm-hmm.
it answered a question that I didn't ask. So they fail. I'm like, brilliant paper on a topic that didn't exist. The topic was this, and you wrote this, and they are not in the same universe. So much to that idea, if you build something that's beautiful and great and all this stuff, but nobody gives a shit, the dollars aren't there, right? Or if the market says, I don't need it, I don't want it, I got 50 of those. And there's so many good ways to establish whether it's needed, wanted, better than. And that's such a
Mm-hmm.
low lift investment to do research at the start when you're all blue skying and whatnots, but nobody
Mm-hmm.
fucking does it. They're like, yo, can you roll up and fix our shit? And I'm like, you got a DeLorean I can borrow? Cause boop. For those of you
It's
who are
too
too
late.
young to get that, this is the time to go and play with Google. Cause I
Yeah,
feel wrong
because you need
breaking
to
that
know
down.
what Doc Brown and you feel wrong about what?
It's wrong that you got to know about a DeLorean.
Yeah, yeah. But hey, like shout out to people experiencing that franchise for the first time. That's a
Enjoy.
wonder. I'm jealous because like enjoy. So
Hoverboards.
we still love you. Oh, and I can't remember Chuck Berry, but yeah, to plus one to plus one onto this like idea, not even idea, but like the facts of listening, testing early, having conversations.
Mm.
That's the realm that's, I mean, like I enjoy the end to end process, but trying to find out what need we're trying, or, you know, whether it's a problem space or an opportunity space that we're trying to dive into, that's
Mm.
what makes this so much fun. And like the trigger for this plus one reminded me of a project I was working on a few years ago, where the PM, I was partnered with a PM, and he like burst through the door. He's like, "We're gonna work on this thing, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna disrupt." And he didn't sound like that. I'm just trying to make myself
No, do
sound
it. I
different
like
from.
it. I'm like, ooh, I'm panicked. Carry on.
Hey, this is what we're gonna do, and it's gonna disrupt, and it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna make numbers, and like I'm just summarizing, and the whole time I was nodding and waiting, nodding and waiting until I had an opportunity to ask, okay, but what does it all mean? What's gonna happen? How does this bring value? What does all of this mean? And he couldn't give me an answer,
Ugh.
and therefore I was lost from the beginning right up until the end of that project. It's weird when people try to throw spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks, because velocity, agile, like people don't. What pisses me off the most is when people say they understand these terms and they don't, or if they know enough to be dangerous but they still don't understand. And there's power in
Mm.
humility and transparency. I'm not looking to lecture anybody, but I do teach UX design as well. And to layer on top of that, again, Ashley teaches and I also teach, but there's a difference between advocacy and education and empathy. So what's really good, spaghetti throwers? What's really good?
I mean, honestly, and I think there's all this, like, there's jargon, there's terms, there's all this stuff, but none of it is actually communicating. None of it is actually getting at something, right? We're this, we're that, we're going to disrupt. If you cannot, to come back to that first example we talked about, if you cannot extract
Mm,
meaning, it's useless. It is not real
mm,
if we can't create a framework in our minds of what it is, or at least what it ought to do. there needs to be a shared understanding for this stuff to exist. Never mind to excel, to fucking exist. And if we can't even get together on that, like
burp burp
sound effects, etc.
The things that happen, you know, that's when you experience failure. That's when the needle doesn't move. That's when things underperform. That's when
And that's not UX's
you
fault.
find out. No,
Yeah.
that's
But,
also a lack of like iteration and planning and real cross-functional collaboration.
and also refining
Yeah.
questions. Like one of my previous academic gigs was actually teaching governments how to ask questions that are answerable. It's great to have ideas. Ideas aren't questions. Ideas aren't products. Ideas aren't things. Ideas are starting places. But you have to be able to turn it into something that can be created or solved for, right? You have to come to an outcome. But if you can't phrase it up at the start, that's where people like us can be really helpful. That's where UX really shines, right? Because you're able to break it down into, well, what is it? What isn't it? So I think when we keep coming back to these ideas of like this disruption or like this new, really, that could be great. Or maybe what people want is the same thing that's easier. So I kind of didn't want to trail off into this thought, but I'm gonna do it anyway because coffee.
Yeah.
But the idea of like, I don't know how many times I've worked in places and had to use Teams. Sorry, Microsoft. Like, what the hell is Teams? It's I get wanting to make a new thing, but if it's going to be new, it better break expectation. It better be better. Teams is neither of those things. I don't know how to find my files. I don't know how to chat properly with people, and it isn't helpful to me. So it's one of those products that may saturate a space because enterprise companies often like to stick with particular levels of securities or features or comfort because Windows 95. And so people maybe stick with what they know, no drama, no shade, some shade. But you know, if it doesn't make it better, it just makes it different, then that also isn't great. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't even know if we need to keep this part in, but I just hate Teams and I was on a fucking call with it. Made me mad.
Teams is
I hate it.
like an accepted evil. Yeah,
but
and
why?
To your point of like, if it's not, I don't use it for file management. Like, hell no. That's
what it's supposed to be for. No. Yo.
I thought Teams was supposed to be like Slack. Not like Slack. Sorry. Oh shit. I can't even remember what Teams is because it's been a while. Teams is supposed to be like Slack plus Zoom, isn't it? And then file management.
I don't know. If we were to make this into a survey, we would get and had 4 answers. We would have 25% for each one because nobody fucking knows. It's impossible. None of it. I don't know. I don't know.
I know that. I know what Teams is. It's a beautiful way to create group shots of all your participants as if they're in an auditorium lecture hall, one, or a board what is it, the Last Supper table, corporate boardroom version. That's what
both places are awful places also in real life. Who enjoys a lecture theater? It's like stale farts and anxiety. I mean,
or snoring.
Never
or
in
that
my
one
lectures.
Loud guy who answers
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. No, I fell asleep in one lecture once. I woke up with pen caps surrounding me because people were trying to wake me up. That was Chris in his school days. But yeah,
I was too
like
wound.
all of that
it was
is
like front row.
funny.
It is.
Oh
yeah.
That was a lot of pressure for me. A lot of pressure. And then when I think about,
I'm 4'10", I couldn't see.
Well, like. I feel that. I'm 6'2", and as a human, I choose to feel that. So I didn't experience it. But
that's called empathy.
With Teams,
let's work our way through the feelings.
Yeah, I understand that it would be difficult to. Okay, we're not gonna lecture. With Teams and Slack and Zoom and all the things, it's I guess it's I know what Teams is. Teams is the all-in-one scanner, printer, fax machine. So
It's
one
not
of them
though.
might be really good.
It's not.
That's what I'm saying. It's not perfect.
No.
You expect to get all these features, but it either degrades over time and stops working, or your expectations were like, I got a scanner, but the fax machine is not working anymore, or like you can't wirelessly connect your thing to the other thing so you can get expectation and outcome. I want to scan so I can email this because I have it on deadline, and you can't because reasons. That was my analogy.
Well,
we could cut it in post.
Can we just start adding that as our tag? We can cut it in post. Like that's gonna be like, we even have post. Who?
Yeah.
We don't have. We're doing this ourselves. Are we? Oh man,
we don't. Yeah, our checking and savings don't work so that we don't have an engineer. We don't have an editor. We just we're just two folks trying to get ahead in this world. Not even ahead, just trying to live.
Just trying to figure out what the fuck, UX. Help us make sense of this. Boop boop.
Contact us now.
We even did a countdown.
You're even
here.
Point to the area where it's supposed to be, but it doesn't end up going there because it ends up down here. Add us. Yeah, we're learning. We're finding our way. Let's not cut it in post.